My name is Daniel. Usually if I'm in trouble, most people call me Dan. I work for Evolve Scientific as their business development manager in Queensland. So I've worked with a number of businesses over the last 15 years, as Glenda mentioned, specifically in and around different sales components. These days I look after the business relationships that Evolve Scientific has with different organisations such as Try. And my real aim is to find businesses that really need to have the right talent and help them to find that talent. So this is what these days are all about, and I think piggybacking off some of the comments from the previous speakers, it's really about connecting with people, setting up goals, and really understanding why you're doing this. So without further ado, we're going to touch on engagement. So engagement with intent. So why are we going out and seeking opportunities, seeking people and seeking businesses? And we're going to dig deep into this today. So what is engagement with intent? So engagement with intent refers to taking meaningful action to engage with people, organisations, businesses, opportunities, or educational institutions that align with your goals or needs. Whenever you're looking to engage, whether it's in a conference like we're having today, a symposium, an exhibition, educational format, fellowships, interviews, we need to understand the intent of this engagement and clearly define the goals that we have. We need to make sure that that engagement is aligning with those goals to ensure that we're going to get to where we're trying to go. So with that, the question comes, are you engaging with your career path or just going through the motions? Because I'm sure we've sometimes gone to an event or been involved with some research or something, and you're thinking, I'm not really sure why I'm here. And it's probably not the right place for you to be if that's what you're thinking. So it's really, really important to understand your goals. And these goals will change depending on where you are within your career path. Most of us here today, early on in your career path, you're entering the workforce, finishing your degrees. Your goals are going to be very different to someone who is, further along in their career. They're working as a CSO, they're trying to get funding, they're trying to develop new products. So depending on that point of your career, your goals should align with what engagements you're going to take on. So it works a little bit like a funnel, as you can see up the top there. So you can have many short-term goals. This might be perfecting particular techniques, gaining training in particular areas. You may have a few medium-term goals, which could be things like promotions or working on larger projects, secondments, for instance. And then you're going to have long-term goals. This could be your dream job or, finally getting that product out to market. And the way that you can shape your engagements will really be around where you're at with these goals and what you want to achieve. So, how do we engage with intent? So, as mentioned, set clear goals. If your goals aren't clear, well, your engagement's probably not going to be very clear either. So if your short-term goal is to learn PCR techniques, for instance, make sure you're going to the classes where you're going to learn those. If your long-term goal is to, get a job in pharmaceuticals or biotech, make sure that you're still going to those classes because those little goals will align with what that long-term goal is. Be selective with your opportunities. We are very lucky these days. There's a plethora of options for where we can engage. We can engage in places like online, such as LinkedIn and webinars. We can engage in conferences and symposiums. There's so much out there, but if we're spending our time engaging with things that don't align with those goals, you're never eventuating in meeting those goals. So make sure you're selective with your time because it is the most valuable thing. You can't get that back. We need to reflect as well. If you're getting to a point where you're, engaging with all these different industries, people, networking events, but you're not really getting the skills or the information that really align with where you're trying to get, well, we need to reflect and look at ourselves and try to align where we're going to make sure that we're engaging really, really well with what's coming up. And we need to seek feedback. There's plenty of people that are in our lives, both professionally and personally, that we can do this with. You know, there's lecturers, there's mentors, there's business associates, there's other peers. You know, we can use these tools to have those opportunities of, hey, how am I going? Where can I improve? What areas are my blind sites? And you can use that to focus on what you want to do next, so you can become that better version of yourself and engage in the right way. So, how goals drive where and when we engage. Looks like that's gone a little bit askew, but anyway. So, there is many different places that we can engage. So we can engage in early career with training and education, internships, fellowships, networking opportunities. In higher education, for if we're in our medium-term part of our career, so conferences like this or larger ones where we're actually with business professionals. We can look at mentorships, finding people that are, you know, leaders in their field and asking what they did. You know, people such as Denise and Kerry that are here, these are great opportunities that people like ourselves can, you know, learn from. And when we're in later in our career, you know, these are going to be very, very different. You know, we may be looking for government grants, engaging with consultants that can help us for that. But the idea is we're going to structure these engagements to really make sure that it's going to align. So you can see a little list down there at the bottom with some different areas in which people commonly engage: universities, webinars, you know, recruitment agencies, people like ourselves, and like Carrie, KE Select, Fuse, Evolve Scientific, LinkedIn, as well as a really, really great one, as mentioned by the previous speakers. So what's really important as well is understanding not only how we engage, but why we engage. You know, many people might know what you do, they may even know how you do it, but they don't know why you do it. And it's really important that we understand and can dig deeper to understand why we are doing something and how we can actually portray that. So an example of this, for instance, if you're developing in biotech, you know, there's a why statement and a what statement. A what statement may be, I want to be the best in my field in cardiovascular implant development. Sounds great, right? But that's not really engaging and going to elicit a response from the people that you're speaking to. If you were to phrase it a little bit more like, I believe by constantly developing my knowledge and skills and applying them to solve problem X, I can contribute to reducing patient side effects and increase patient longevity. For me, the ability to know I'm improving the quality of life and life expectancy motivates me to grow and develop myself from day to day. This digs deeper to the reason why you're actually in this career path, the reason why you're engaging with the people you are to gain education, networks, and develop your career path. And if you can utilise this in the way that you're setting your goals and the way you're articulating your goals with who you're engaging with, you're going to be able to get much better outcomes. So a real life example of how I've seen engagement with intent work recently. As I said, we work in recruitment, we work across a number of different fields within science. We were working on a research and development role for a client here in Brisbane, and they were looking for two roles, so a technician and a technologist. I actually reached out to the Australian Institute of Food Science and Technology, their chair here in Queensland, to see if there was any recommendations of people that they may have. I was passed along one fantastic candidate. From that candidate actually interviewed very, very well and secured that role. That candidate hadn't actually applied to the role, but because she was actively engaging in the APHIS community, she was going to conferences like this, webinars, networking events, and was active, that person was passed on to me. And this worked in two ways. I also engaged with APHIS as well. So depending on where you are in your career, you can utilise these engagements in different ways. There are plenty of other organisations such as Tribe with what they do with their careers days and other events. Life Sciences Queensland, if you're part of that, make sure you're engaging with those people because they are invaluable resources that are at your disposal. So in conclusion, the main things that I want you guys to take away today is develop your goals. Have clear goals and understand that they may change throughout times depending on where you are with your career. This was touched on by our previous speakers, and it's a very strong theme you're probably going to see here today. Guide your engagements that intentionally align with your goals and your career path. Reflect on what's working and also what's not, because that's going to really help you to see where you need to improve and, become a more complete picture. Dig deep to understand your why and ensure that this is conveyed during your engagements. You need to set yourself apart. There's a lot of people that have a lot of very similar skills, but if you're able to show them why you really are engaged and want to be here and want to grow, it's going to come through. Embrace opportunities that can come from different types of engagement. Obviously, education, networking, every one of these things has a different outcome. And engaging intentionally isn't about what's in it for you. It's also about what you can provide others. If you are there engaging and understanding that, hey, my goal is actually to help the person next to me, help the businesses that I'm working on, rather than, hey, I just want to get this next promotion, you'll see a much better outcome with your engagements. Thank you.